Clicking life.
Tick tock, time to rock. I said tick tock, time to rock. Tick tock, time to rock. I said tick tock, time to rock. What? Tick tock, time to rock. Hey everyone, how's everyone doing out there?
What's up?
Like a chorus of little birdies singing sweet melodies, sweet melodies. Sweet melodies. Hey, everyone check out this
Yes.
Wes Huff versus Billy Carson debate.
Yes.
It was we've mentioned this several times when everyone jumped on it as soon as it came out, and then we didn't because we weren't really familiar with Wes Huff or Billy Carson, so we weren't terribly interested. But apparently everyone else on the planet was interested. And so I wasn't familiar with Billy Carson, but apparently there have been a lot of people who were concerned about things that he's been saying. And so lots of people were interested in this and then actually started watching it last night, and turns out was very, very, very interesting stuff. I did not finish it, but very interesting stuff so far. And how this happened, we were live, and someone said Billy Carson, according to Billy Carson, the I forget what they said, Codex Sinaiticus or the Sinai Bible denies the crucifixion, and I was trying to make sense of it because that's the first I'd ever heard of that in my entire life. And so I don't even remember what I said, but I was thinking about it afterwards. I was like, Codex Sinaiticus, are they talking about Codex Sinaiticus denying the crucifixion? Like, on what planet could that be? That's one of the main Bible manuscripts ever. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, you're talking about dozens, because I was thinking maybe there's a textual variant in a verse, and they're saying, oh, that doesn't affirm the crucifixion. Maybe there's a textual variant or something like that. It's like, wait, you're talking about dozens of passages. You're talking about dozens of passages in the New Testament that talk about the death of Jesus. So there's no way that it just denies Jesus' death by crucifixion. Even if there was a textual, then I started thinking, like, even if there was one textual variant in one passage that denied the crucifixion, like, I would have heard that from Muslims for my entire life. And I've never heard that. So what could they possibly be talking about? So I went and actually checked it out and saw what they were talking about. And man, it's actually hilarious. It is hilarious stuff. But
it's kind of a weird thing. You are bringing this up as something controversial and as something really bad. But am I supposed to believe you or Billy Carson, who has lots of viewers?
Yeah, you might think that you should go with Billy Carson until you watch this debate. But everyone, there's a really important takeaway from this. If Billy Carson has been going around for years saying what he just said to Wes Huff, and Wes Huff just obliterated it. But guess what? Even though Wes Huff is an expert in certain areas, when he's talking about the Gospel of Barnabas, that's something that any one of you can do. And it's something that someone should have done at some point in Billy Carson's, I don't know what he does, preaching or whatever, speaking. Someone should have called him on this very quickly because it's that obvious. There are other things they're talking about where people have no clue. Like they were talking about other things where I don't know about this stuff. You're talking about the Gospel of Barnabas. That would not be a difficult issue to respond to. You could do 5 minutes of research and know how to respond to this. So the fact that it took this long for someone to correct him is kind of sad, but we're going to go through the section they had on the Gospel of Barnabas, and we're going to see what happened. We'll learn a little bit about the Gospel of Barnabas, because that would be the big takeaway, guys. If people are still using the Gospel of Barnabas after all these years, people need to respond to it, and so it's good to be prepared. And then we'll just have a sort of general methodology for when people are bringing up weird arguments that you're not familiar with. What you don't want to do is just mindlessly go along with what they're saying. You want to actually respond. And it's perfectly acceptable. We'll talk about this later, but it's perfectly acceptable to say, hey, you just mentioned, in this case, let's say Gospel of Barnabas or something. You just mentioned this. I'm not familiar with that. Could I get back to you on that? I want to go look it up, make sure I know what I'm talking about. That way we can have an intelligent conversation. and no shame whatsoever in that. In fact, if the other person actually believes that this is a reliable document, he'll be happy. Great, this person's going to go out and find that I'm right. When that's not what's going to happen. Jamie here points out that Wes Huff sounds like a rap name. Wes Huff.
I was kind
of call me Wes Huff, better than Puff, Daddy, because I don't mess with kids. But
I find it kind of strange when people said Wes Huff. I was like, is that a real name? Apparently he's familiar with you. Apparently he mentioned you, David. Why do you not know him?
He mentioned me.
That's what people are saying.
Did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently he's familiar with you.
Well, I mean, I've been around on YouTube for a while, so.
So I was just finishing my chess game in the middle of the live stream. And then
that's pretty shameful. This is why your live stream always suck. You're sitting there playing chess while people are in deep thought about serious topics. Let's see. Let's check this out. Ranko says, it was no debate but a slaughtering by Wes Huff, allegedly. Yeah, guys, I watched about the first 30 minutes or so, and this is one of the most one-sided things I've ever seen. Again, when it was the Gospel of Barnabas, I was like, oh, okay, well that's easy to respond to. But it didn't matter what Billy Carson brought up, because then he's like, well, let's go to the Old Testament and blah blah blah, and starts talking about the sources that these are derived from. Whatever he brought up so far in what I've seen so far, everything Billy Carson brought up. Wes Huff just happened to be an expert on that topic, like, well, when I was discovering this manuscript that you speak of, not to that extent, but he was really, really familiar, and he knew the manuscripts and the
He's a scholar.
Yeah.
He's a Bible scholar.
He knows what he's talking about. And Billy Carson didn't. Well, no, I don't want to say Billy Carson didn't at all. He's read a bunch of ancient sources, and he was able to sort of, Wes Huff would say, could you give everyone the gist of that source and stuff? And he would break it down. So he's clearly studied this stuff. He just isn't familiar with, he doesn't seem to look into the reliability of the sources, right? He's familiar with the sources, not so much whether they are reliable or not, and that results in some bad arguments. So we're going to go ahead and go through some of this. Should be
the
fun.
Funny thing is, when I first heard of this debate and I first heard of Billy Carson, I had no idea who Billy Carson is. I looked him up, and the things that come up, his books, his books just look like books that you find, at Walmart. I don't know, some at the front, those very poor books, those garbage books that are just about random stuff. That's kind of what it looks like. But apparently he's some spirituality, new age woo-woo guy. That's what he is. And going then against an actual Bible scholar, he really, I saw only bits of it. I saw a few parts. I saw one part because one of our fans and friends, Christian Gadfly, made a clip about it. I saw that, and I thought, wow, that's really, really embarrassing, man. But apparently Wes Huff really made him look horrible, which is why he didn't want the debate to be out.
And I have to say, I don't know what happened after I stopped watching, but from what I saw, Billy Carson was fine. And I heard people complain about the moderator, and I thought he was talking a little bit too much at one point, but a lot of people I saw complaining about the moderator. They're saying it's not like he's a bad guy, it's just he didn't have experience, and so he kept talking too much and jumping in. I didn't see that yet. I'm guessing it happened much later in the debate, because these guys seemed very cordial. They were listening to each other. They were letting each other speak and so on. So the part I saw, Billy Carson didn't know what he was talking about when he's talking about the Codex Sinaiticus and the Gospel of Barnabas. He didn't know what he was talking about, but he was actually listening, and when he got corrected, he was fine with it. So I'm guessing whatever other issues people are talking about happened later in the debate. I'm going to watch this because I basically want to find all the parts that are most interesting and most helpful for people, especially for us, since they are discussing topics that I'm not familiar with. Definitely want to go through that stuff, but also the stuff that Seriously, Gospel of Barnabas? That's one of the first things I heard when I started interacting with Muslims in the 90s in prison was Gospel of Barnabas. They were giving me the Gospel of Barnabas, Gospel of Barnabas, Gospel of Barnabas. And fortunately, I got a hold of Answering Islam by Norm Geisler and Abdul Salib, and they actually had a section on that. And then I was able to take these guys to school. But here I am, almost 30 years later, and I'm finding out, wait, people are still using a medieval forgery as evidence, and it's not just Muslims. It's Billy Carson, the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge Inc.
Make it sound like it's a fantastic thing.
I want to actually read this little description so people know what we're talking about, but go ahead.
Yeah. The thing is, I often disagree when people say that that humans are getting dumber or something like that, because it's usually you can point at evidence of the opposite. But the thing is, as I was a teenager or an early adolescent, I got introduced to the idea that there is actually a real gospel, and it's the Gospel of Barnabas. And
you heard that too?
I was introduced to that idea as a Muslim, from fellow Muslims who were making that argument. And the thing is, I guess growing up in that community, I always had my doubts about these things that they were saying, because they would quickly turn out to be completely false and nonsensical. And when I was in my questioning period later on, I remembered that whole Gospel of Barnabas thing, and I started looking into it, and it quickly found out with irrefutable evidence that it is just a clear forgery. It is a clear forgery. Now, I've seen since then still Muslims using this argument, and I would think, well, these people are just so pathetic, man. Very, very helpless. But then to see a Western debater, an audience use that is a little bit embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah, so when you see someone using the Gospel of Barnabas, ladies and gentlemen, you have found someone who is either completely clueless about how to examine sources and determine their reliability, or it's someone who's just trying to deceive you. But it's seriously, seriously, seriously sad if he's been using this for years and no one corrected him on it. Because as soon as he was corrected on it, he's like, oh, okay, so yeah, fine, okay. So wait, it took you this long to actually get called on one of the most obvious forgeries ever? Anyway, we'll be taking a look at the Gospel of Barnabas. Just wanted to read a description. This came up on... I looked up he's got a bunch of books, but Woke Doesn't Mean Broke. That's one of his books. And it's got him like flying he's in the sky with like a purple glow coming out of him or something like that. But anyway, let's read the description. This is truly the time to make changes. Do not wait for anything or anybody. Now is the time to make your move. You need to be ahead of the game with the right tools that this book will provide you on your journey into the future. And here's the other thing. This book is right for any point in history. It doesn't matter when you read it. Everything presented here is timeless. The steps to your financial well-being and improvements to self are the same today as they will be 50 years from now. I've combined spirituality. I think this is where he like combines like weird ancient sources and stuff and derives principles from them, and then incorporates them into his teachings about his self-help guru stuff. I've combined spirituality with knowledge about how to navigate the financial matrix. Wait a minute. Andrew Tate says we're supposed to be concerned about the matrix. This book is a mental checklist and so on. The analogies were great. These are reviews. The analogies were great. Meditation and financial knowledge mixed in one. That's from Waka Flocka Flame. See? Okay, so this goes on with all the people praising this book for being awesome. Just wanted to get to about the author. Billy Carson, this is about the author from his book. Billy Carson is the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, Inc., and the best-selling author of The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets and Woke Doesn't Mean Broke. Mr. Carson is also the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge TV, a new conscious streaming TV network, the co-host of Biohack Your Best Life, and an expert host on Deep Space, a new original streaming series by Gaia. This series explores the secret space program, revealing extraordinary technologies and their potential origins. This is some alien stuff. Mr. Carson also serves as an expert host on Gaia's
Isn't
original series. Huh?
Gaia is some pseudoscience garbage channel, as far as I am aware. Looked into that a while ago, and it's just there's so much trash there.
Yeah, this looks like a. Again, I'm just basing this off this little bit that I'm seeing here. Looks like a weird combination of ancient sources and alien stuff and self-help guru stuff. That's what it's looking like. I do not know, but that's what it looks like on first glance. So this is a guy who went toe-to-toe with an actual Christian scholar, and things didn't go the way he thought they would.
Stuff that you find on Gaia, I'm seeing right now: sacred geometry,
Woo.
the sound of creation, as above, so below, crystals, healing, manifestation, and alchemy. How to revive your superpowers. The
Alchemy?
mysteries of the real Knights Templar. Yeah, alchemy.
How to turn lead into gold.
Nobody knows about this.
But here's what's funny. If you go back to the time of alchemy, that's what the books were. They would be like, here's the secret book on this, and if you get this, then it will do this. And so apparently that hasn't gone away. Let's take these first couple super chats, and then we'll jump into this discussion on the Gospel of Barnabas. And then we will learn, guys. We will learn about the Gospel of Barnabas in here, and we will learn what to do if someone's bringing up weird subjects that you're not familiar with. So assuming you know, so the goal here would be, when people bring something up, if it's something that's going to come up at various times in your life, good idea to become familiar with that. But even if you're not familiar with it, there are things you can do. So Ozsad says, sorry about the misquote. Yesterday, Jesus said, we worship what we know, for B, salvation is from the Judes. Oh, yeah. It's from the Judes.
The Judes.
Guys, if you didn't see yesterday's stream, you'll have no clue what we're talking about. That's Kim Iverson, world-renowned scholar of religions. Kim Iverson saying they should be called the Judes. The Judes, because it's from Judah.
An actual name was given to them by the Romans, and the Romans, they didn't just call them the Yehudis. They called everyone who was a monotheistic worshiper of some kind. They called them all Yehudis, and they had their religion of Yehudiisms. What in the world? Who gave this person the right to speak?
Let's see. Hey, David and AP, I just finished reading the Bible and wonders where I should go from here. Maybe the church fathers. Any advice would be nice. I seriously doubt you mastered it from one reading, so I would probably go back through the most important sections. Like, figure out what sections were most important to you as far as what you're interested in and so on. Like, for instance, probably one of the Synoptic Gospels and the Gospel of John and the book of Acts, and maybe Paul's letter to the Romans, and try to get a super solid grasp of that. But why are you asking AP like he knows what he's talking about? Yes, AP, should I go through the church fathers? You're the expert of all things Christian.
It's not necessarily asking me, it's just saying, hey, David and AP.
No, he's saying, AP. Hey, David and AP, do you guys have advice?
I don't know. You know what's funny about reading the Bible again? I haven't yet finished the whole Bible, but before reading it, I read Ecclesiastes, as you know, several times. I read it several times and listened to it several times. And the funny thing is, if you ask me about the content, I'm still kind of clueless, and I still want to go back and read it again. And if I read it again, I will probably at the end still be like, okay, I think I need to read it again.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, because I'd read a little bit from Genesis when I was waiting for someone one day, and I was waiting in a doctor's office for somebody, and there was a Bible there, and so I didn't know anything about it, so I just grabbed it and I started reading. I read like the first chapter or two of Genesis, but apart from that, the only thing I remember reading was parts of Ecclesiastes, and then at some point I read more of Ecclesiastes, oddly enough. Weird parallel. And I did that because I've mentioned this before, but George Orwell had an essay, Politics and the English Language, and he took an awesome passage from Ecclesiastes, and he said, how would a modern like politician or journalist or something say this? And it's a bunch of incoherent babble, but saying the exact same thing, but just trying to sound fancy and confusing. And he's pointing out, and so it's interesting because I mean George Orwell is an atheist, so but he was interesting. He's okay. Here's a really good way to say something, and here's a really terrible way to say things.
Atheist.
Keep up the good work, fellas, and so we shall. Wes Huff about to be on Joe Rogan. I know. Hats off to Joe Rogan for having him on, and that's cool. Wes Huff, more like Wes Buff.
Did you see him?
He is pretty shredded, man.
Yeah.
What a good role model. That's the other takeaway of the debate. He is like very polite while he's like completely demolishing somebody. So he's exercising the mind and exercising the body and polite, unlike AP, who's like, oh, you've been humiliated.
Finished to destroy you.
Michelle says, hey guys, did you see the Codex Sinaiticus mugs you can buy? They're hilarious. Excited for this stream. Wes is awesome. Wait, is that as a result of this debate that someone started making mugs? Because that would be funny.
That's funny.
That would be funny. Glad y'all started late. Just saw a notice. Sure, it was AP. Thanks, man.
Alhamdulillah.
No comment on who's to blame. I made that super chat last night about the Codex Sinaiticus as the Sinai Bible as a joke because it was the most obvious blunder by Billy. Yeah, and as I pointed out, I was just completely unfamiliar. Like Sinaiticus, what? Some textual variant? Wait, it wouldn't make any sense because it clearly affirms Jesus' death by crucifixion in dozens of passages. So what could he possibly be referring to? And even as he was saying it, I was like, so I started watching it. What could he possibly be talking about? And then Wes got involved in the discussion, and now I understand. That's pretty much the worst thing I've ever seen.
I'm just curious about one
life.
thing. Like, did he bring that point up before, like when he was on Joe Rogan, for example, or somewhere else? And did people just listen to that and nobody corrected him on it or something? Or is this the first time that came up? I'm curious, honestly.
I think either he brought it up or the moderator brought it up or something like that. So it's apparently something he talks about. He's just never been called on it. But I don't know if it's like he's been all over the internet with it. But apparently when he's teaching, he claims that Jesus was never crucified because of the Sinai Bible. And then he got asked what that is. Do you mean Codex Sinaiticus? He agreed, and then it was explained to him that Codex Sinaiticus most certainly does not deny the crucifixion of Jesus. And then he clarified, oops, got that wrong. Here's what I really meant. And that's where things got really, really awesome and funny.
Well, yeah, he said I misquoted, right, when he was called out on that.
Something like that. Yeah, we'll check it out. Yeah. Who should go on Joe Rogan next? IP maybe? Yeah, IP, yeah. AP. It'd be cool if you started getting some like ex-Muslims or something on there to talk about their experiences.
Ex-Muslims are gay.
B literally said Jesus disappears from the text.
Gosh, I really want to watch this debate now.
Yeah, I am. I'm, and that's the thing. I was like, the vast majority of stuff that comes up in debates, I've heard a bunch of times. So I just have not been watching many debates over the past several years. You generally know what points someone's going to bring up. You generally know what points his opponent's going to bring up. So just not interested. But this was really interesting. The parts that I've watched so far were really interesting. Joshua,
you probably haven't watched many debates from New Age woo-woo people, right?
That's true. It's normally atheists versus Christians on does God exist or something like that, and then Christian-Muslim topics. So I'm kind of familiar with all this stuff. So not terribly interested unless it's something, some specific topic that's really interesting. But I started watching this
for getting this. Much respect to Wes Huff for getting this debate done. Getting it organized and challenging Billy Carson. Very, very nice.
And to the moderator that everyone complained about, but at least he set this up and worked well. And again, what I saw from Billy Carson so far in this debate, he seemed very polite and so on. I guess it's either later in the debate where there may be problems, or he may have been completely polite throughout the entire debate and then just melted down afterwards. But apparently he was threatening lawsuits or something like that to have this taken out. Huge Wes Huff fan, and I saw 6 different debate reviews that Billy got taken down, and the whole Billy Carson New Age community needs to be debunked. Well done. Well, that's interesting. So this might get taken down. I have followed Wes for years. He is fantastic. I've never heard of Billy Carson and watched the debate for Wes. So,
Beast.
Muslims believe Jesus was sinless and the Messiah, but he was also a Jew who they are told are the worst of creatures. How do they get around this? Well, when it's talking about Jews and Christians being the worst of creatures, it's specifying those who reject Islam. And according to Muslims, Jesus did not reject Islam. He was a Muslim, so he's good to go.
Yeah. When it talks about those who reject, it is so. When Islam comes along, when Muhammad comes along, and the Quran is revealed, meaning it's just made up on the spot, then Christians and Jews have the responsibility from the Islamic perspective to accept it, to accept Islam. Those who do not accept it after Muhammad has come are from then on known as those Christians and Jews who do not believe, and they are the worst of creatures.
Playing chess on stream. What's your ELOAP?
I shan't say.
2. It's 2.
I'm still new, man. I've been playing chess for like 2 years or so, or less. I don't know.
I played a lot of chess in prison. Did you know there was a lost gospel called Barney Bus? This proves us. Barney Bus, Barney Bus. Billy didn't actually accept the corrections. Well, this is interesting. Billy didn't actually accept the corrections. He just wanted to leave ASAP. He is threatening everyone with legal action for even releasing the debate. Uh-oh. Yeah, we may indeed be in trouble. Billy has been claiming he studies and he can read ancient languages. It's simply not true. This is what Wes is an expert in. Billy is humiliated. I can't wait for Carson to convert to Islam and the Dawah guys pile on the usual. You see, this is the proof.
Such a smart man. This shows that Islam is true.
He's humiliated, Wes Huff. Guys, I just figured it out. Forbidden Knowledge, Inc. What are you talking about? We already said it. Forbidden Knowledge, Inc.
Yes.
Guess the tune. Allah, I want to be like Jews every day. Hint Fleetwood Mac everywhere. I listen to Fleetwood Mac. I don't know what you're talking about here. Billy Carson is if the History Channel at 3 a.m. was a person. That's true. I don't know if you're familiar, because I'm up every night at 3. But yeah, when you see History Channel, then it's like everything is about aliens and stuff. And, they discovered the aliens who built the pyramids and blah, blah, blah.
Is that one that Ancient Aliens program is on?
Yeah, I never watch. I always click it, but when I see the topics, it's always stuff like that on the History Channel. Slightly confused by the end of Bukhari. You want to look this up, AP? 3617. Slightly confused by the end of Bukhari, 3617. Any comments would be appreciated. Currently going through Trinity Channel videos. That's old school. Love you, David. So you're the one. Right.
There was a Christian who embraced Islam and read Surah Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, and he used to write the revelations for the Prophet. Later on, he returned to Christianity again, and he used to say, Muhammad knows nothing but what I have written for him. Then Allah caused him to die, and the people buried him. But in the morning, they saw that the earth had thrown his body out. True story. They said, this is the act of Muhammad and his companions. They dug the grave of our companion and took his body out of it because he had to run away from them. They again dug the grave deeply for him, but in the morning they again saw that the earth had thrown his body out. They said, this is an act of Muhammad. They dug the grave for him as deep as they could, but in the morning they again saw that the earth had thrown his body out, so they believed what had befallen him was not done by human beings and had to leave him thrown out on the ground. I'm sure this totally happened.
Yeah, so this, keep in mind, this is 2 centuries after the events, ladies and gentlemen, so this kind of ranks right up there with Muhammad's miracles, and it ranks right up there with the story of the guy getting a hold of Muhammad's toothbrush and shoving it up his butt, and then he became pregnant and gave birth to a fish rat baby and so on that his daughter murdered. Anyway.
Makes sense.
What you have, ladies and gentlemen, is Muhammad had more than one scribe who apostatized. So he had one who converted from Christianity to Islam, became Muhammad's scribe, then left, went back to Christianity, started making fun of Muhammad. You had Abdullah ibn Abi Sar, who was one of Muhammad's scribes, and Muhammad kept letting him make changes to the Quran. And Abdullah ibn Abi Sar was like, "Look, if this guy's a prophet, then I'm a prophet too, because I'm coming up. I'm writing this too. He's literally letting me make changes to the text, so that would make me a prophet too." And he goes, I know I'm not a prophet, so neither is he. So he left Islam. But anyway, you had guys like this. But what do? It's circulating in the Muslim community that one of Muhammad's scribes have left Islam. Well, later on, you come up with stories about how the Christian guy was punished. Abdullah ibn Abi Sar, he converted back to Islam when he got in a position where they could execute him. So then he converted back to Islam. The other guy, you have to invent a story about how he's punished for his treachery.
He's been humiliated by Allah himself, you see.
I'm literally about to bust in alien time. Alien time. Okay. Quran says Injil was revealed to Jesus, but gospel is a witness statement, not a revelation, so Christians can't have the Injil. How to refute this? Christians don't have the Injil. You refute that, if you're talking to a Muslim, by showing repeated passages in the Quran which say we have the Injil. You have passages which specifically state that we have the Injil. Surah 7, verse 157 says we read the Injil. You have in Jami at-Tirmidhi, Muhammad saying that the Torah is with the Jews and the Injil is with the Christians. So Muhammad says we have it. And you have all these passages which take for granted that we have it, that say, that tell us that we have to judge by it, that tell us we have no ground to stand upon unless we stand fast by the Torah and the gospel. So it's the Quran itself that completely crushes that claim.
That's true. That's what they do.
The thing that made the debate so big was Billy came to the moderator's house at 3 a.m. and now suing everyone involved. You got to see all the details posted. Oh, I haven't, but yeah, I've heard that he's like doing that sort of thing, but we really haven't been following the whole exchange. So maybe we will. Maybe we will now that we're involved in it, and maybe we're going to get sued too. I saw the Houthis release a new hit song. You should check it out. Their world-dominating Jew impression is spot on. The Houthis, you familiar with who that is? At first I thought it was the Houthis, but talking about releasing a song, that would not be Houthis.
Maybe it is the Houthis.
You already know that, but all of Codex Sinaiticus is online with translation. Show it to Muslims who say the Bible has been corrupted. It totally stumped my Muslim friend. Good idea. It's a good approach. Billy said it in videos, among other lies, that made him rich. The moderator didn't want to be a moderator. He was friends with Billy and had actual questions. Billy seemed polite because he wanted to move on, not admit he was wrong. That's the second person who said that he wasn't actually accepting correction. He just wanted to get out of that situation. Okay, we got a couple more, and then we can jump into the video. Is there any peaceful version of Islam, or is it any version that stays true to the Quran going to be violent? There's a couple ways you can be peaceful. You can, like the Ahmadis, they would be comparatively peaceful, but you have a sort of later figure who tells you how to interpret things. So that's one way. You can take a more philosophical approach. You could be a Quran only Muslim, and the reason being a Quran only Muslim, you think, okay, well, if you're Quran only, you still have all these violent passages. Well, if you're not Quran only and you see a peaceful passage and a violent passage, if you're not Quran only, then you rely on the principle of abrogation, and you would say, okay, which one came last? Well, guess what? It's the violent passages. Those were the final revelation. Those are the final marching order. So you can't get around. You can't get around that. If you're Quran only, they're all in the Quran, and you have nothing in the Quran telling you this one happened after that one. So you can kind of say, okay, well, this peaceful passage, that's the general rule. This violent passage, that must only have been for war. You say, but it doesn't say anything about this only being relevant to war. It's like, but in order to reconcile these peaceful passages and these violent passages, I have to assume that this is only in war. Whereas a regular Orthodox Sunni Muslim is going to use the principle of abrogation and say, this one cancels this other one.
Yeah, I think the only ones that are for whom it is even for the Ahmadis currently in their current state come off as peaceful, but they also have fundamentally, if they weren't a minority that is kind of semi-persecuted in certain places, they would be just as bad as the regular mainstream Sunnis. You have certain Shia branches like the Alevis or the Alawis, which are actually, funnily enough, two separate different branches. You have certain Shia sects that tend to be more fundamentally peaceful compared to the Sunnis and the mainstream Shia. And then again, yeah, as David said, the Quran only fans, they are
Quran only fans.
they
It's too funny how that worked out, man. That we're Quran only, and then there's OnlyFans, and it's just how is they've got to make a site called Quran OnlyFans.
It's too tempting. I can't just let it go without saying it. You
at least need to make a video called Quran OnlyFans and have a response to Quran only Islam.
Powerful. The Quran only and those who reject much of the Hadith would be the only ones that have a chance for peace, but they don't ever get popular because it's kind of nonsensical. If you're going to reject the Hadith, you also end up at some point having to reject the Quran because the Quran depends on the Hadith and so
on. I really want to jump into this debate, but I'm looking forward at the super chats here, and they're giving like really interesting information about Billy. So I actually want to go through a few more of these so we can get through this. Let's see. Billy has also used the lie about the Sinai Bible leave for a few years and all on all the podcasts. Also, Wes was born in Pakistan and refutes Muslims as well. That's interesting. He's born in Pakistan. We might want to find some of his videos on Islam and just go through some of those.
I put a video of his on my watch list, which was about the Quran, which he published several months ago. I was kind of surprised because I hear Christian apologist, Christian scholar, and usually doesn't go into much Islam stuff. And I went on his page, and his watch page has some Islam videos, so it might be worth watching.
Hey, we should, and but guys, if he just had a big debate where he got to expose someone, got a lot of attention, going on Joe Rogan. So this is a good time to get this guy as much attention as possible, and we can do our little part to help by going through some of his stuff. Wes can work out the mind and body. AP can't even work out how to be on time. Draw your own conclusions.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Billy Carson's source is the Gospel of Billy. Yes, the Gospel of Billy Bus. Billy Bus. Luke Clank says, really, Apostate Aladdin. Really, AP? What if Billy was watching this right now? Watching you mock him. P.S. Y'all will love the debate, lol. I did. I was actually interested. If I had more time, I would have finished it. But I started it right before I was going to bed. So, but I will definitely be finishing that. And Muslims need the toothbrush. An army of mutated fish offspring would be an improvement over the current genetic stock. Alhamdulillah, that's really messed up and mean. They need the power of the toothbrush. Where's that comment I saw about Billy? It was talking about Billy threatening people. There's a Malayali ex-Muslim content creator, E.A. Jabbar, who has AP's channel in the links section. He's an old man taking Quran classes for non-Muslims as an expose. AP's impact is bigger than AP thinks. AP doesn't think that his impact is not significant. AP knows he's crushing it. Okay, here's the one I wanted to get to. Skyscraper for Luck, because this might be relevant to us. You need to check out the host, Mark Menard's recent video with his emotional reaction. First time he speaks out, Billy Carson showed up at his family's doorstep at 3 a.m. I don't know if he does. I don't know if that's his usual MO, but Billy, that would not work out very well for you here. So don't be showing up at my house at 3 a.m.
PH Bar, I'm subscribing to that channel.
You might get confused with a jihadi. That's creepy stuff, though, man. This is like weird control freak stalker stuff. Okay, we're about to see what's going on. How come historically people with the most opposite and outlandish takes get so much eyeballs, like getting on Rogan, than a reasonable Christian? What are you talking about? That's not even what's happening right now. Wes is a reasonable Christian scholar, and so perfect to have on Joe Rogan. But you're right, Joe Rogan. There is a reason, guys. There's a reason. There's even a reason he's getting on Billy Carson. If you're Joe Rogan and you're figuring who to get on your podcast, you're looking for who's like trending for various reasons. And you want people who are trending with different audiences because, very smart, then you get that person on your show, and then that person's audience who might not even regularly watch your show, suddenly they watch your show. And guess what? Some of them are going to continue watching other shows in the future. So very smart approach. Makes perfect sense.
Powerful.
Very powerful. All right, okay, we're almost done here. I believe Billy might secretly be a crazy person. Careful, he might show up at your house to correct you. Billy to Wes, have you read the Codex Sinaiticus? Wes reaching for bookshelf. Yes, I have a copy right here, actually. Now Hanukkah celebrated it in South India by last Jews. Interesting.
Beast.
Do you know that? All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this. I cut off the introductions. I thought I was going to be chopping out lots of stuff from the moderator because everyone was complaining about the moderator, but wasn't terrible early on. So let's go ahead and check out this. We're going to find out about the Sinai Bible, Codex Sinaiticus, and the Gospel of Barnabas here.
Billy, you talk about how Jesus was never crucified, which is interesting because my wife, who's a Muslim, they believe that as well. Mm-hmm. Their beliefs, from what I understand from her, are they don't think that...
AP, you seem confused. Why would you be confused by this guy mentioning his Muslim wife?
I'm not confused. I'm just confused. Yeah.
Okay. Would there be a reason it would be odd for this guy to have a Muslim wife?
Yeah.
What would that be?
He said my wife is a Muslim.
Yeah.
So... assuming that he is not a Muslim, considering that he refers to his wife as a Muslim, that would not be Islamically allowed. Because a Muslim woman is not allowed to marry a non-Muslim man. Uh-huh. In fact, their marriage would be annulled under Islamic.
Yeah, it's considered void. Yeah, automatically. So, guys, in Islam, a Muslim man can marry a non-Muslim woman. He can marry a Christian woman or a Jewish woman. If you read some of their commentaries, they view it as like taking over the reproductive capabilities of the enemy. It's it's smart, but it's evil. But you can't let a Muslim woman marry a non-Muslim man because then your enemies would be taking over your reproductive capabilities. And so, fun stuff.
Jesus, as they believe, is a prophet. God would have him killed, but I don't think they have any historical evidence.
That's incorrect. I don't want to keep interrupting every 5 seconds, but he just said they believe. Let me just back it up. He said he thinks they believe that because Jesus was a prophet, Allah wouldn't allow him to be killed. That is not. Prophets are killed a bunch in the Quran, and even Muhammad died after being poisoned. So that is not the reason with Jesus. There are Muslims who will say that because they've never actually read the Quran. They don't realize prophets are dying left and right in the Quran. And Jews are repeatedly being accused of killing prophets and so on in the Quran. So that is not a reason. Just wanted to point that out. So you need to take some more Islam lessons from your wife.
They don't think that Jesus, as they believe, is a prophet, God would have him killed. But I don't think they have any historical evidence, as far as I know, as to what or how or why they believe that. I'm curious for you guys both, and if you want to...
What do you think?
I know why. It's because they adopted heretical Christian beliefs without understanding them.
So you're saying that would be the most straightforward explanation of how they ended up with this in the Quran?
Yeah.
They took some Docetus and Gnostic sources, or they'd heard stories. They didn't understand the theological implications of them. They just ran with it.
Yeah, Muhammad probably first adopted Christian beliefs from Christians as possibly totally true because he was really looking up to Christians and Jews at first. But then later, as he was praising them, he realized that Christians actually believe in, that most Christians actually believe in, but that Jesus is the Son of God and Jesus is God and he was crucified. So it seems that he, at that point, was influenced by heretical currents, which were apparently very, very popular in Arabia at that time, which may have introduced the idea to him or to others that Jesus wasn't actually crucified, but somebody else was killed instead of him, or something like that.
And there are basically two positions, and both of them pose a problem for Islam. So you got two positions. You do have Muslims like Khalil Andani who argue that the Quran isn't actually denying Jesus' death by crucifixion. Once you understand it in the immediate context, you understand the greater context of what the Quran is saying. He claims that the Quran isn't denying Jesus' death by crucifixion. It's denying that the Jews had some victory over Jesus by crucifying him. So that's one, in which case the vast majority of Muslims would be wrong in their understanding of the Quran. Or if that is what it's saying, if the Quran is actually denying Jesus' death by crucifixion by adopting these earlier sources, Muhammad's got problems, because these are some really, really weird sources and they do not line up with Islam.
And they glorify Jesus even more so than mainstream Christianity, which is why they came to the conclusions that Jesus couldn't have been killed, because they refuse to associate any earthly or human aspect with Jesus, and they say, "Well, humans are filthy." For example, this is the Gnostic position. Humans are filthy. Earthly stuff is vain, is bad. How dare you claim that Jesus had a human flesh which could have been hurt or killed or something like that. So these were religions that were definitely putting him way above just human, or way above just part divine or whatever it is. They were saying that he's way above everything.
So this moderator here, he brings up this issue because he's basically saying, hey, this is something you talk about. You talk about Jesus not dying. But that's interesting to me because this is something my wife is interested in because she's a Muslim. So this is looks like this is why he brings it up. But we'll see. We'll see the powerful defense of this.
Let's go first, Billy, as to how you came about, like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible.
So he has talked about it.
According to the Sinai Bible.
The Sinai Bible.
Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is...
What an argument.
Wait,
wow,
Codex
man.
Sinaiticus, our earliest complete manuscript of the New Testament, actually predates the King James Bible in 1611? Oh, that's interesting.
I don't even get it. Like, this is really what people listen to and think, "Well, I'm impressed by this. He's impressive."
Oh,
wow! Are you freaking kidding me?
No, dude. That's why this is really disturbing. If he's been getting away with this for years, that's bad. That's like really, really bad.
It was the Sinai Bible.
And he's saying the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. What's the heck is the Sinai Bible? But anyway, here it goes.
About 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also,
like one's in English.
One of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, is a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married.
He just said the scholars say it's controversial, but they say that this is maybe an accurate record. Who says that?
Who?
You had Karen King say that, and then she was like laughed out of academia. Anyway,
if this was Wikipedia, you would have a thing. You would have a who in brackets.
Then adds more, if that's true. It adds more to the hypothesis that maybe
true.
He wasn't crucified. I just personally believe that Jesus was an amazing human being. I don't think that he was the Son of God in the sense that he's God, but that we're all gods. As he said, ye are gods, and that we're to do greater things than him. And I just personally believe.
I wasn't listening to it very closely when I was doing this, but I didn't even catch him using ye are gods to say that we're all gods. Oh boy. Oh wow. Okay.
That the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness. when we can all achieve a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, passion, understanding, empathy, love that he came to this planet with, and we get that in our...
Did he came to this planet with?
Planet.
That's when I hear that and I see some of the other stuff he's interested in, when he came to this planet, then I start thinking, okay, does he mean like in the Christian sense of the incarnation, or does he mean like alien? I don't know, because I don't know enough about him, but he could be one of the guys who thinks Jesus was an alien or something.
So I saw people referencing him and joking about the idea that Jesus was an alien. Jesus is an alien. I thought that was just a big joke or something, but hearing him speak like this right now, I mean, there are people who know more about this guy than you and I do. Does he
believe Jesus is an alien? Oh yeah, and Emily in the chat says that's not what Psalm 82 means. Lol. Yes, that's right. So guys, well, I'll give the short version now. Maybe someday, just to put this to rest. I was thinking we could do a live stream on it at some point get some Bible guys on here, but I should probably just make a video. Psalm 82, it talks about the term Elohim. Had a broader, it can refer to one God, it can refer to the one God, but it's also like our term God, just G-O-D, in the sense that it can be referred to God. It can also refer to gods, even if you're talking about, like the god Odin or something like this, and not be referring to the one God. But it's even broader than that. There are times when it can apply to angels. It can apply to even human judges who had God's authority to judge in various situations and so on. It's a much broader term, unlike Yahweh, which is very specific, right? They had a much more generic term that wasn't just God or pagan gods or anything else, also referred to certain representatives of God and so on. And in Psalm 82, God tells his human representatives, hey, I said you're gods, but you're gonna die like men, right? Like you have my authority, but it's not helping you because you're not doing things right. And then when Jesus is called out for claiming to be the Son of God, they say, oh, you have to die because of this. And Jesus responds, what are you talking about? It's written in the Psalms, you are gods. Therefore, his reasoning is you can't kill someone just for saying I have this title, because even according to your scriptures, God can give this title to people. So you should be asking, is my claim to be the Son of God actually true? And am I actually from God? That's what you should be asking. But just because I said some words, you can't execute someone for that. So anyway, he's not saying you're all gods. What?
David, I just briefly muted you and listened to what he said on Patrick Bet David about aliens. He says, I'm quoting him word for word, I think Jesus was half human, half alien, and I'll tell you why. I don't even know the rest. I don't even know what else he said, but that's apparently what he believes. Wow.
And so I guess the angel Gabriel showing up would have actually been an alien. All right, we're finding out all kinds of stuff about who we're dealing with here. But let's see. He's to his credit, he's actually going to give us some powerful evidence for his position, namely the Sinai Bible and the gospel of Jesus' wife.
Mind and our conscience, and we can act on that those incredible emotions and that understanding, that the whole world is going to transform instantaneously. And I think at the second coming is the coming of the Christ consciousness to the planet, not a human being flying back to Earth to save people. That's just my personal understanding of how I perceived it over many, many years of going through this information and going through all this text.
And Wes, I'm gonna let you respond to that. And again, I mean, this is everyone listening to the show. I'm always like, challenge everything. Learn to critically think and continue to come to your conclusions.
Your viewers,
even with Jesus, I'm not
learn to think critically.
Personally, even waiting on that he has to come back to. I already know like I said, that strength of God and consciousness is already. I can tap into that right now.
You could tap into that Christ consciousness right now.
You don't have to wait for him to come back.
Don't need to.
For those that believe he does, to actually have that like next level of what that's supposed to mean.
I see what people know about the one.
Wes, go ahead on for what Billy was talking about. I think with a book in the Harvard Museum, and I heard something about Jesus' wife.
This guy needs to stop smoking weed and going live. He clearly can't handle it. What is this, man?
Hey, a couple of people are complaining about the slow chat not working properly. What are you talking about? How would it not work properly? If slow chat wasn't working properly, then what would it be doing? It would just be letting you post without slow chat, which would also be fine, right?
Check your settings. It might just be telling people randomly that they can't post or something. I don't know.
Well, they're obvious. They can post, obviously, if they're complaining about it.
But it might give them like problems in posting.
Guys, what should I do? Is there a problem? Confirm, or if things are working fine for you, let me know that things are working fine. And if there's a problem, let me know if there's a problem, because things can be just on someone's computer or something, I suppose. So let me know if everyone's having, I don't know how there could be a problem. I see people. Oh, wait, it says after 40 seconds, it's getting censored. And they say it's supposed to be a 30-second delay, but it's much longer. They say it's glitching. They say, no, it's putting us in timeout.
Just reduce it to 15 seconds and see what happens.
I'm just going to turn it off, guys, and see if that helps. 1 second. So 1 second. I'm just going to turn off slow mode, and hopefully, because I've never had a problem with it before. So if it's glitching
this is the first time that I'm hearing some Christ consciousness cult guy talk about this kind of stuff. I wasn't even aware that this is a serious thing until quite recently, honestly. But apparently this is this new age cult thinking of tapping in on the Christ consciousness and waiting, and when Jesus comes, which is not going to be a literal Jesus coming, it's going then all humans will be ascending to that space of mind. And shut up, just shut up. This is why. I did this something in the past when asked about Jesus, and I thought it was kind of a nice thing. But when I've changed my mind in the meantime, and when I listen to this guy talk about Jesus, and he says, "Oh, I think Jesus was awesome. Jesus was amazing, and this and this and that," like I think there is a really stupid and disrespectful and patronizing and dumb aspect to not believing in Christianity, not believing in Jesus, and then giving this whole speech about Jesus when you are asked, "Oh yeah, I think he was an amazing teacher and wonderful mind and amazing, yeah, morally fantastic," and so on. It just sounds worse than saying, "I don't believe in Jesus."
Yeah, and that's with Muslims. Hey, we believe in Jesus more than you. What do you believe? Oh, this completely different stuff that makes him a terrible, awful failure. Oh, okay, that's great. All right, so someone here says God Logic's chat was having the same issues with the slow. So guys, I know without the slow mode, then the comments come really fast and stuff, but we're just gonna have to deal with it because there is a problem. There's a problem with the chat today that is not under our control. So I'm just gonna leave it like this, and hopefully, make the best of it. Make the best of it, and hopefully it'll be fixed next time. All right, let's get back to this. But look at Wes. Wes is already loving this, but let's see.
Well, first let me say I think it's really cool to not just be in the room proverbially with you, Billy, but be able to interact with you, because I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, Toronto, Canada is a long way away from Florida. It's a little bit of a jaunt, but I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible,
Did you see what he just did there? Maybe it wasn't even deliberate, but this is a very, very, very nice way to can say something very nice about.
Oh, of course.
About the opponent to then ask a
and
question.
Then can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a clarification question? Yeah. Guys, this is
very nice.
No. As far as his rhetoric, perfect. You don't have to come out that way. He could just come out blasting and say, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm going to show you why," and so on. But look at what he just did. Hey, it's an honor to be having this discussion. Wish I could be with you in person. Really interested in this. Can I ask you for a clarification? That clarification, that's like Greg Kokel. That's like Greg Kokel style. I want to ask. Can I ask you a follow-up question? Oh, that's interesting what you just said right there. Can I ask you a question about it? That's part of his Columbo tactic, because that's what Detective Columbo. This is before your time, AP, but there was a show Columbo, and Columbo would always, he'd get there and someone like murdered his wife or something like this, and then Columbo would be going around, and then the person would be given the story. Oh, yes, I came home and I found her like this. And he'd just be going around. He's going, oh, okay, now I got it. Now I got it. Thank you. Thank you for your input. It's been very helpful. I'm going to go ahead. Wait, would you mind if I asked you one question? And it was like, this dude was doomed. He was doomed right from that moment.
I don't know much about Wes Huff. I never heard of him before this whole thing. But I love this.
Yes, and watching this, AP, you should try to be more like Wes and not, oh, no, I will humiliate you, Billy Carson.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai.
No, you don't.
I'm assuming it's the mountain that they're referencing there. But
Wes is
they
nodding.
put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
It's so funny. One, there is no Sinai Bible. There's Codex Sinaiticus, right? But then what he just described, they put this together, and oh my goodness, everything he said is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. But Wes is going to point that out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification. Because, so you can actually go and see... Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library. So you can go and see it. It's on display. And the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts.
Ooh.
He's an expert in early Christian scribal culture.
At this point, Billy Carson should realize,
You done messed up now, Billy. Okay. All right. Interesting stuff.
I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else.
That's also Greg Kokel. Guys, you need to read Greg Kokel's Tactics, but right there too. And the reason I'm asking for clarification is I want to make sure I'm understanding you so that I'm actually responding to what you're actually claiming here. So all good stuff.
Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring, when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified. Mm-hmm. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So
wait, guys, look. While Wes is saying these things, look at Billy. He's on his phone or tablet or whatever, looking up.
Wow, man.
Looking this stuff up. He's typing.
This is bad.
He's typing vigorously. Trying to look up what's being said. But there's actually an explanation. So he made a mistake on what source he's citing. Wes is completely correct in responding to him, but watch what happens. Let me go back to this. I backed it up a couple seconds.
My confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that?
Right now to make sure I have the version that I'm looking at.
While he's pulling that up too, like I keep saying to all the people that aren't scientists traveling the world and linguists, I don't even know how to pronounce it the right way, like me.
Yeah, linguists?
What
Yeah.
cyanide? I keep thinking of cyanide.
AP, quit being mean. Quit being mean.
It just makes me. It makes me want to violently cringe. It's so bad. I feel bad for the guy. I honestly feel.
Listen to what he says here. He says, when you say cyanidic, I keep thinking of cyanide. We don't want to be mean. He's not. That's the thing. He's not claiming to be an expert. He's just trying to have a conversation, to facilitate a conversation. So he doesn't need to know what he's talking about. But listen to what he says here about cyanide.
Sure. No, he's totally fine. I feel bad for Billy Carson here.
Yeah. Billy's looking up, where did I get an idea of cyanide Bible from? Let's see.
Scientists traveling the world and linguists. I don't even know how to pronounce it the right way. Like me.
Yeah, linguists.
What cyanide? I keep thinking of cyanide, like the cyanide Bible. So
Right.
is that like a version? So from my own knowledge that
Not
I
a
know,
version,
like
it's a
when I
manuscript.
really studied all this, what I thought was interesting about the Bible was how many like different eyewitness. I studied C.S. Lewis back in the day. How many different eyewitnesses and stuff there
Good
were,
biographical
and
material.
they went on purpose to mention so many other names that they were able to like cross-reference throughout history and throughout those times, from my understanding. And those were different things that I always thought were kind of interesting that I felt was a good concept of proof. And then I want Billy to answer, and also I'm just curious, like the Sinai Bible. This
is why Joe Rogan is a bad example to people, because Joe Rogan he gets high and he like his guests get high, and then he goes on a program and he does an awesome job, and then other people think
I can do that too.
I can also get high and host the show. And
Joe Rogan is high functioning high, ladies and gentlemen. He's high functioning.
Found the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
And that's where I started dying laughing yesterday actually early this morning when I was talking. It wasn't the Sinai Bible, and it wasn't Codex Sinaiticus. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
There are so many things to point out here. One of those is, first off, I don't buy this explanation at all. He clearly remember when we watched it earlier, he doesn't just fleetingly say Sinai Bible. He emphasizes it.
Yeah.
He says it once, then he
and then gives a description. Gives a description of what it is and how it's put together and stuff.
Yes, and apparently this is a talking point that he has presented before on multiple occasions, and he is clearly referring to it. So if he did indeed misquote, if this is indeed the mistake, if he was actually this entire time, and whenever he made his claims, think about the so-called Gospel of Barnabas, then this is even worse. It just means that this guy blurts
stuff out and never gets called on it because his fans never have any clue what he's talking about.
And he doesn't study any of these things. Like this is what he runs with, but he doesn't even care about it enough to study it properly, to have an understanding of it. He didn't even know. He was just guessing earlier that it's probably called Sinai Bible because it has something to do with Sinai. I mean, you could have. You can look up this information.
I think that's the mountain. I think that's the mountain.
You can look this information up, why it's called Sinai Codex, within seconds, and he didn't even bother doing that. This is just so embarrassing, man.
And then turns out,
how do people listen to idiots like this?
And then turns out that he's talking about the Gospel of Barnabas, which, guess what, bud? If that's what you're talking about, oh boy, you got all kinds of problems. And fortunately, we're about to see some of them. But here we go. Oh, matter of fact, let me back this. Let me back this up a little bit, just so we can hear his self-correction. And this is what I thought was cool. He said, "Hey, okay, I was wrong."
And then I want Billy to answer, and also, I'm just curious, like the Sinai Bible, where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Okay, yeah. Well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with. There are two manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery, and so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So At the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas,
to be clear, guys, not Hebrew, not Aramaic, not Greek, none of that. Spanish and Italian. So not even Latin. You're talking the later languages. Oh boy, here we go.
Confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century. But the Gospel of Barnabas in particular.
By the way, let me back that up. That's actually important, guys. If you're talking about this with a Muslim and they bring up Gospel of Barnabas and you say that's a medieval forgery, the response is, oh, but here's a text that refers to this Epistle of Barnabas. Yeah, the Epistle of Barnabas is not this Gospel of Barnabas. So you're talking about two completely different things. One does not confirm the other. But let's go back.
The start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of. One is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century. But the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like in chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem, and neither Mount Sinai nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan River. So never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to like around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems with the Gospel of Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus.
Yeah, so guys, there the point there, and this is true of many, many, many of the fake later Gospels. Think about this. So I grew up in West Virginia. I could write something and tell you about the area of West Virginia that I grew up in because I was there. If I were fabricating a source, and I'm talking about Mississippi, and I start talking about Mississippi, I'm not going to know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you won't know any better. But anyone who actually knows and understands Mississippi, if they were reading it and I have no idea what I'm talking about and I'm making things up as I go along, they're going to look at this and go, this guy has no clue what he's talking about. He doesn't know about Mississippi. He knows nothing about Mississippi. He doesn't know where anything is. Everything he's saying about this is wrong. That's the case with these fabricated gospels. They'll start, oh, and Jesus went here and did this. Jesus went here and did that. Jesus went here and did that. There's also a passage, I don't think Wes brings this up, but there's a passage in the Gospel of Barnabas where Jesus sails to Nazareth. You can't sail to Nazareth. It's in the middle of you can't sail there. Anyway, it's just stuff like that. But those are one of the things that you would look for in spotting a forgery. You look for when are the earliest references to this, when are your earliest manuscripts, things like that. But then also in the internal evidence, is this something that shows that the author knows what he's talking about? And that's kind of the difference between, like let's say the Book of Acts or the Gospels or something like this. These were clearly people who knew the area, and you can say they knew it really well, especially since all this stuff was leveled by the Romans. But anyway, back this up.
Evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words.
Yeah.
And I think a bigger...
You catch that? Jesus is the Christ, but he's not the Messiah. One is the Greek word, the other is the Hebrew word, guys, but it's the same thing.
Problem is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So there's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century, and none in any other language other than Middle Age Italian and Spanish. But the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that it's doing things like paraphrasing Dante, or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical year of Jubilee?
What's up?
Here's the thing. Look, I just looked up other instances where he talks about kind of this stuff. I have multiple sources, multiple videos coming up, including by Billy Carson himself, that he himself published, shows that he went on and gave a talk about Jesus's crucifixion. There's a video that is where he himself speaks, and he the thing is, it's probably justified mocking this guy because he arrogantly stands there and he's like, you probably didn't know about this because they don't tell you. And then he talks about
the Christians don't tell you about
he
the
says
Sinai Bible.
everything else, but the crucifixion, it never happened. If you go to the Sinai Bible and you discover, oh, it really didn't happen. And the Sinai Bible, for example, he says, or if you look at the Gospel of Barnabas, and you would discover there as well that it didn't happen. And then he gets into the Sinai Bible and says it also has another name. It's called Codex Sinaiticus. And then he says that it confirms mistakes found in the Septuagint. He says, so nitpicking aside, he in that video repeats that claim very firmly and even publishes it himself, that this is the Sinai Bible, saying that the crucifixion never happened. So this is not just him getting something wrong or making a mistake here on the spot.
He didn't just have a few drinks beforehand and he messed up. This has been.
He said this for quite a long time, as far as I can tell, and he even published stuff about this himself, and nobody called him out. I mean, I checked comments, and they're like, "Wow, you are the only person talking about." Yeah, he's the only person talking about this because it's made up nonsense.
Yeah, and guys, so Wes right there was because Again, I had to study this back in the 90s when Muslims were using this, but he just pointed out the internal problem with the year of Jubilee, which in the Gospel of Barnabas is every 100 years. In the Bible, it's every 50 years. Every 50 years is the year of Jubilee, right? A pope in the Middle Ages changed it to every 100 years, and so when you're reading the Gospel of Barnabas and it talks about the year of Jubilee every 100 years, it's okay, this had to have been written after that was changed by a pope. And then isn't it convenient that our only manuscripts are significantly after that time and that the person has no clue what he's talking about and so on. So this is why this is like obvious forgery. Obvious. There are significantly better forgeries than this, but this is like a terrible one. And you have to be a serious dope to fall for this, which is why it became very popular in Dawa in the 1990s. But let's see.
And it goes with the Middle Ages concept, not the ancient concept. So I think what I'm getting at is, so I'm a historian, and I deal with sources. So when I'm looking at sources, I want to make sure that I have a methodology by which I approach any type of source. So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. So if we're talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible.
Right.
The problem is...
It's funny, he's giving him credit when he didn't even know what that was, and he thought the Gospel of Barnabas was Codex Sinaiticus. I didn't even know it's called Codex Sinaiticus. He called it Sinai Bible. So he's wrong on everything, but then Wes is like, and I agree with you that this is our... Wes is being super nice here. I just backed it up a couple seconds, but...
Talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible.
Right.
The problem is that we have individual copies of all 4 Gospels going back hundreds of years before Codex Sinaiticus. So I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. I can just show the screen right here. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John. and it
Is that the
has the
papyrus by
crucifixion.
any chance?
Yeah,
that
so
word that I
papyrus
see?
is just the what it's made out of. So
Material it's on.
I got that
The guy said, "Is that the papyrus?" He said, "Yeah, papyrus is what it's written on."
from
Yeah.
Chat GPT, by the way.
yeah,
Sorry,
so
guys, I'm just
I
trying
can
to sound
actually
smart for a second.
I have that papyrus at home.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Well,
yeah, so I'll show you.
He said, "I have that papyrus at home." That's interesting. You've got P66 at home, or do you mean a copy? Because I'd be impressed if you had P66, buddy.
This. So the documents you actually see on my bookshelf behind me are facsimile papyri that I've made. So when I was in Egypt last summer, I went and I got made for me some papyrus sheets. And so I take these papyrus sheets, which are made from the papyrus plant, and then when I go and I look at actual manuscripts, so I was at the University of Philadelphia last summer, and I went and I saw a document called P1, which is a 3rd century fragment of the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And so what I did is I sat down with that original and I produced a facsimile. So I copied the text. First of all, I cut it out with an X-Acto knife in not the original 3rd century one on my papyrus. I cut out with an X-Acto knife this guy, and then I copied the text transcriptionally on the front and the back. So papyrus is just simply
debate, man.
I do too, right? I was like,
I
whoa.
understand why this is an education session. This is Billy Carson being educated very, very calmly. Like lots of people have titled their videos over the years of calmly educating or destroying or whatever it is. This is actually one of those instances. And you have a fraudster, a charlatan, a liar, some guy who has made himself rich over just people telling people ridiculous, nonsensical stories. He is getting humiliated here by a scholar who actually has done the work, who actually knows what he's talking about. This is what a fraudster like this guy deserves. It's, man.
Well deserved. And it's funny because he doesn't just launch into just crushing the point. He's actually giving he's actually educating the audience as well as let me tell you how this works. Let me tell you how all of this works. I'll explain it to you and stuff, while simultaneously making it very clear that he is an expert on this. Like, so this is what I did with P1 and stuff like this. And fun stuff. Back it up a little slightly here. There we go. Beautiful.
In not the original 3rd century one on my papyrus. I cut out with an X-Acto knife this guy, and then I copied the text transcriptionally on the front and the back. So papyrus is just simply, it's what it's made out of.
Yeah.
And so there's categorizing systems, and the standard one is called the Gregory Allende categorizing system. And so sometimes you'll see when manuscripts are mentioned, they'll have a GA and then a number behind it. If it's made of papyrus, you simply abbreviate the word papyrus to P, and then you have the numbering system. Mm-hmm. So P66, what I showed you earlier, that's this on the categorizing system. It's the 66th manuscript that was put into the system. It's from the Gospel of John. I also have, P46 and P47 on my shelf, which includes all 4 Gospels and Acts from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. So the only hesitation I have with what you said, Billy,
the only hesitation
is that we have single copies of the Gospels that can be dated to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just it's not that there's debate about it, it's that it's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's a known forgery, yes, but I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the...
Did you catch that, guys?
Wait. What did you say? What did you say? Completely again?
He said, if you say it's a known forgery, we'll go with that.
Wow, man.
That's what I meant. That was actually cool. So Wes says all this stuff. And then Billy says, okay, if you say it's a known forgery, fine. And then he moves on. And then he just moves on. After, he just destroyed what you've been teaching for a long time. You've been calling it the Sinai Bible, talking to your fans, talking about the Sinai Bible, and you know what's in the Sinai Bible. And it turns out you were supposedly talking about Codex Sinaiticus, which that has nothing to do with anything you're saying. And then so when you're actually called on it, which is sad if this is the first time you've been called on it, you're called on it by someone who says, whoa, Codex Sinaiticus is not helping you. Codex Sinaiticus is not helping you at all. Codex Sinaiticus does not deny the crucifixion of Jesus. Massive confirmation of the crucifixion of Jesus. Oh, yeah, I'm actually talking about the Gospel of Barnabas. And then, so Wes there goes through all of that. And guys, what he just said was he filled in the details and gave the background knowledge to understand what he's saying. But what he just said there is you're going with a 14th to 16th century known forgery instead of the earliest documents where we have tons of evidence that they're extremely early. And you're going with something that's a known forgery where we have no early copies of. And the only copies we have 2 manuscripts in Spanish and Italian. And it's a known forgery, and everyone knows this except you and some Dawa guys. And that's what you're quoting. And you're claiming to be knowledgeable about this stuff. This is embarrassingly bad. All he says, oh, okay, well, if it's a known forgery, it's a known forgery. I'll move on. There's a bigger issue than that, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the bigger issue. The bigger issue is, I've given this example before. Imagine you have an event where the president of the United States is going to be speaking somewhere, and the Secret Service is scanning people. They're putting people through metal detectors. They're giving them the body scans and so on, making sure no one has anything. And so everyone gets inside. All of a sudden, let's suppose some random guy pulls out an AK-47. Ah! And you say, okay, well, this guy's got an AK-47. Let's get him out of there. Well, no, that's not the only problem. That's not the only problem. If a guy with an AK-47 got in there, if he got through your security systems, that means your security systems are flawed. And for all you know, everyone in there has got an AK-47 because you have a flawed system. Likewise, if you're Billy Carson, you going around for years. Do you know the Sinai Bible? The Sinai Bible. This says Jesus didn't die by crucifixion. He wasn't even crucified. You've been saying that for years. And then it turns out you're actually talking about the Gospel of Barnabas. There are multiple things. One, you don't even know what is the Sinai Bible. There's no such thing. If you're talking about Codex Sinaiticus, that doesn't help you. So you're wrong about that. Oh, no, it's Gospel of Barnabas. Well, that's a medieval forgery. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't understand how to spot a forgery, how to distinguish accurate historical information from obvious known forgeries. You don't have the basic level of research to go to Wikipedia and look this up. That's a much bigger problem than you citing the Gospel of Barnabas. In other words, it's your entire methodology is in question. You are a completely unreliable researcher if you did not know what was just told to you. You're completely unreliable. You have a terrible methodology, and you're going around telling people you know what you're talking about when you're extremely, extremely clueless about what's going on, which means you should not be educating people. And so that's the main issue. In other words, the Gospel of Barnabas, that's an example, that's an illustration of how unreliable you are in your research, which calls all of your research into question. Why would, at this point, why would I believe this guy about anything at this point? If this is his level of research.
That's the thing. I mean, I hear him say there, okay, if you say that's a forgery, then we'll just go with that. But let's move on to, no, we can't just move on.
Whoa, yeah. It should be back up. Why did you get that? Why did you come to that conclusion?
You have been preaching this forever, and these were your 2 pieces of evidence. Both are completely destroyed and invalid. You don't just move on from that. Nope.
It's interesting because Wes is a super nice guy, and he just lets him bring up this next topic, and then destroys him on the Gospel of Jesus' wife as well. But yeah, he just lets him okay, I agree with you. Let's move on, and he lets him move on, and then just keeps destroying him on the next point and so on. But yeah. So anyway, he could have stopped him right there and said, whoa, let's not move on. Let's try to figure out why you were so sloppy and why you've been saying this for years. And matter of fact, let's make sure that all of your fans who are watching this right now understand you just admitted that you've been spouting complete nonsense to them for years, at least on this topic. Maybe you're right about everything else. On this, you are beyond clueless. Can we all agree on that? But instead, he just lets him jump from topic to topic, schooling him and exposes him that way. He makes it obvious just by the volume of these things. Anyway, before we move on, and we won't be going terribly late tonight because we're just going to watch the next point about the gospel of Jesus' wife. But I wanted to show what would happen if you did the slightest bit of research. And what I mean is like Wikipedia level. If you don't know anything else and you just did a quick Google search on a topic, I mean, how obvious that is. And if Billy Carson's fans are not doing this basic level. So people need to get in the habit, especially now when it seems like every show we're doing, we're like going through a video about someone trying to educate people and having no clue what they're talking about. We did this yesterday with Kim Iverson. AP. She gave an entire history of how we got the word Jew from and who the real Jews are. How much of what she said was even in the ballpark of something that could be taken potentially seriously at all by
nothing.
Almost nothing. She's spouting complete nonsense. Guys, you are living in an age where it's not like in the past where if you wanted to be a professor at a university, you had to go through years of education and so on. Now anyone can just jump online and start saying things. What that means is you're going to get a lot of people saying things, and they're saying completely ridiculous things. They're going to keep doing that until people in general develop some sort of habit of, let me make sure that this is reliable information. They go look it up. If people don't do that, then you're basically asking to be misled and deceived.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking? Now that you brought up Kim Iverson again, I think I should record myself. It won't be an easy video. I should record myself watching that again and saying I will take a shot every time Kim Iverson says something wrong. And I'll just record myself doing that.
Mm-hmm. And then it shows you 5 minutes later, just passed out on the floor. And your wife...
It shows me I'm actually dead. My wife comes and is like, no,
you're on the floor in a pool of vomit, and she's calling 911 to rescue you.
That's good.
So guys, watch what would happen if you just, there are much better sources than Wikipedia if you're looking up something scholarly. The entire point here is anyone with an internet connection. If you're watching Billy Carson, you are watching one of his videos or something like that, you obviously have an internet connection. How difficult would it be once he shares something with you to just look it up in a Google search, at least, at the bare minimum, do that. But look what you'd get very quickly. Gospel of Barnabas.
It's right there. Pseudo-epigraphical.
Yeah. Non-canonical, pseudo-epigraphical gospel written during the late Middle Ages and attributed to the early Christian disciple Barnabas, who in this work is one of the apostles of Jesus. So he's one of the original apostles, according to this, which is not. It's about the same length as the 4 canonical gospels combined and largely harmonizes stories in the canonical gospels with Islamic elements such as the denial of Jesus' crucifixion. The gospel presents a detailed account of the life of Jesus, begins with the nativity of Jesus, which includes the annunciation by the archangel Gabriel to Mary, which precedes Jesus' birth. The gospel follows his ministry, ending with the message of Jesus to spread his teachings around the world. Judas Iscariot replaced Jesus at the crucifixion. So this includes Judas being crucified. The gospel survives in 2 manuscripts, in Italian and Spanish, both dated to the Middle Ages. It is one of 3 works with Barnabas' name. The others are the Epistle of Barnabas and the Acts of Barnabas, although they are not related to each other. The earliest known mention. Got this, guys? This is very important information, which if we had looked it up as soon as we saw him, how long would this have taken? We're in 2 minutes right now. This is within 2 minutes of research. The earliest known mention of the Gospel of Barnabas has been discovered in a 1634 manuscript by a Morisco.
You're trusting Wikipedia.
Which was found in Madrid, and the earliest published reference to it was in the 1715. But you're almost in the lifetimes of my great grandparents.
Oh, who trusts Wikipedia? I would trust Billy Carson instead.
And check this out. The Gospel's origins and author have been debated. Several theories are speculative and none has general acceptance. The Gospel of Barnabas is dated to the 13th to 15th centuries, much too late to have been written by Barnabas in the first century. You think? Many of its teachings are synchronous with those in the Quran and oppose the Bible, especially the New Testament. So then look, it even talks about the contents here and so on. It talks about the textual history, goes into more detail, and look, all these little notes. So even if you don't trust Wikipedia, it's sending you to the other sources for all these things. It's got the manuscripts, right? And then look, and then it goes into detail about the Italian manuscript. And then it goes into detail about the Spanish manuscript. And then you have suggestions about a Syriac copy, authorship, and
you know
origin.
who wrote the Spanish manuscript? You know who wrote the Spanish manuscript? The SNF.
Hey, look. This is the Syriac version. That's the one where they said they found the earliest Bible and so on. Yes. And remember, they circulated it, and there's like, yes, they found it in Turkey. Yeah, so look, February 2012, the Turkish press reported that the Ministry of Culture and Tourism confirmed that a 52-page biblical manuscript thought to be the Gospel of Barnabas had been deposited. The manuscript was reportedly found in Cyprus in 2000, and a police anti-smuggling operation had been in police repository. I've heard from Muslims hundreds of times who told me, yes, we found the Bible, we found the earliest Bible. And that worked until people who could actually read looked at the cover. Photographs of a cover page were widely published on which, and Muslims circulated it, they couldn't actually read it. Photographs of a cover page were widely published on which can be read an inscription in a Neo-Aramaic hand. In the name of our Lord, this book is written on the hands of the monks at the high monastery in Nineveh in the 1500th year of our Lord. It's the earliest one, 1,500 years after. It's so stupid. This is so stupid, guys. And this was one of their main arguments in the 1990s. Okay, just wanted to glance through that. If you kept scrolling down, what did West do? He gave some examples of internal evidence. So he pointed out that, hey, our only manuscripts and so on show that this is a very late document. But even if you want to say this is a hypothetical, well, maybe we just lost all copies and they all somehow perished or something like that, all the early copies. Then you look at internal evidence of when this is written. And look, you have an entire section here, anachronisms and factual errors. So let's see what kind of things we have here. In chapter 3, Pontius Pilate is said to have governed Judea, and Annas and Caiaphas were the high priests when Jesus was born. Annas became high priest in AD 6, and his son-in-law Caiaphas succeeded him in AD 18. Pilate did not become procurator until AD 26 to 27. So, guys, Pontius Pilate is supposedly the ruler when Jesus is born. This is not a person who had any clue what he's talking about. Chapter 15, during the first year of Jesus' ministry, it is said that the Feast of Tabernacles was near. In chapter 30, the author writes of the Synophagia, which would also take place that year. They're the same thing. In chapters 20 to 21, said that Jesus and his disciples arrived in Nazareth after embarking on the Sea of Galilee and went up to Capernaum. Capernaum was on the shore, and Nazareth more than 15 miles inland. You catch that? So, hey, we're on the Sea of Galilee. Where do we go? We'll stop at Nazareth, and then we'll go up to Capernaum. No, you would have stopped at Capernaum and then gone up to Nazareth. So they're getting completely backwards. This person who doesn't know basic geography that you could get with any map in the back of your Bible. In chapters 42 and 96, Jesus said, I am not the Messiah, even though he's called the Christ. The authors appear to not realize that the Greek Christ and the Hebrew Messiah are synonymous. Both mean the anointed one. Chapter 63, Nineveh is described as near the Mediterranean Sea. It was 400 miles away in Mesopotamia. Chapter 65, Jesus is said to go to the Probatica pool. According to the author, it is so called because the angel of God every day troubled the water, and whosoever first entered the water after its movement was cured of every kind of infirmity. Probatike, Greek for the Aramaic Bethesda, means of the sheep. Chapter 82, it is said that the Jubilee, this is one that Wes brought up. Chapter 82, it is said that a jubilee occurs every 100 years. The Jewish jubilee is every 50 years. Pope Boniface VIII proclaimed 1300 as the first Christian jubilee, and the next jubilee would take place 100 years later. In chapter 99, Tyre is said to be near the Jordan River. It's more than 30 miles away. Chapter 144, the word Pharisee is said to mean seeking God. Derived from the Hebrew, it means separated. In the next chapter, guys, this goes on. Do you seriously think this comes from a first century Jewish apostle of Jesus?
Of course, Billy Carson says so.
Yeah, because Billy Carson said so. So look at what we just did. We spent, 10 minutes? And I mean, all you needed was like the first 2 minutes to raise some serious questions. But then the point is, this is not difficult. This is not difficult. Everyone needs to be in this habit of, wait, you just said what? Okay, I'm not familiar with that. So instead of just believing what you say, I'm going to go check out what you say. I'm going to look it up. If you had enough people, if 5% of Billy's followers were doing that, were looking up what he said, he would not be able to go around spouting this complete nonsense all the time.
But it's not fun to do that. It's fun to just listen.
Super fun. It's super fun and based. Super fun and based. All right. We'll take a couple of super chats, and then we're just going to watch. There's another little section. There's the whole debate. I have the link in the description box, but we're just going to go through this part. Finish the point about the gospel of Jesus' wife, which proves that Jesus was married to an alien, something like that. Yeah, I think it was it a weird? Yeah, this was a weird late forgery as well. I think I recall hearing about this around the time of the Da Vinci Code, when everyone started talking about all these other sources. But yeah, I don't remember. I remember hearing about this and looking into it briefly, and but we'll check this out. Take a couple of super chats. Let's see. Thankfully, people are coming to Christ because of Wes, Huff, and Minard. I don't know who that is. Is that his buddy? I just laughed so hard I fell on top of my computer, at which point I smashed my finger, and then my girlfriend called 911. Mark is wee Todd and doo-dooed his pants multiple times in this interview.
Nice.
Who's Mark? The guy?
I don't know.
Is that the moderator? Mod is a total nerd. Guys, why are you talking about the moderator?
He's high. Don't blame him.
Oh, here's another one. Mark is Dimmy material. Okay, so I guess that's.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Imagine having a 35 IQ and marrying a Muslim. It's all over, little bro. Why is everyone? He seems nice, and he is listening to people. So, it's not like he's being a jerk and talking trash about everyone and stuff. That'd be different. Let's see. Had a black Muslim say the left shoulder Muslim stuff was false and said it was debunked by a scholar, but couldn't give any sources. Yeah. Ask for some sources when people are saying stuff.
What do you mean sources? Sources are...
What's the source? What's the source? The source is my brain. Have you heard of the new Muslim rock band, Houthi and the Blowfish? Their new song, I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love with Jews. I hope I don't fall in love with Jews is really good. That makes sense. That seems like a legit parody that someone could do. That would be funny. Jesus was an alien. I'm Caucasian. Another fun word is Elilim, which refers to foreign divinities and idols in a mocking fashion, just FYI. Oh man, Wes is such a gentleman. Life goals. It is. That's a good... It's one thing if you're talking to someone and they're blasting away with insults and so on, and then you have to decide, what do I want to do? Do I want to keep the same level of rhetoric? Do I want to be nice here? But he crushed that. Based on what I've seen so far, he's crushing it in every possible way. Like he's doing everything right as far as that.
He's being an amazing person, being so nice and polite and just good. I mean, he could be there and he could just he could destroy and, with all satisfaction, humiliate the guy. But that's obviously not who he is. He has a good attitude and is doing a very, very fantastic job, and that's what kept this going. And I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen anything except this from him. I love the guy by now.
Yeah, very powerful. He's what you'd call the total package of an awesome Christian debater. Now, this may not work so well if I'm trying to think. There's always. You could have people who they were being kind of friendly and not like shouting each other down, but there's a question of, would you be able to use this method and be nice if the other guy was jumping in on you and shouting you down and stuff like this? Would you have to adapt and so on? But as far as that is concerned, he's totally nailing it, and we will. I'm going to watch the rest of the debate. We'll see if there's anything else in there we want to discuss, but also we're interested in some of his responses to Islam. So we'll see how we'll see how his responses to Islam are. Born in Pakistan. We're going to see. AP, the word you might want, Billy Carson, is condescending. Is that the word you were looking for?
It's worse than that.
Billy might as well believe in flat earth. You might as well. He might. I don't know. Any chance of you guys uploading on Spotify?
I thought about it before, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
What do you do? Just we do a show and then you stick it on Spotify for some reason?
Yeah, you just upload it on Spotify. Like the way you uploaded it on here, you just have to use a proxy publishing something.
Why would someone listen to it on Spotify and not just listen to it on YouTube?
Because it is. No, Spotify is easier to just keep open and listen to. YouTube is. Spotify is like you can just turn something on and pack it away and do something else. You don't have to keep on a screen or a view thing or whatever it is.
Sounds creepy. Thanks for fixing the chat. It kept blocking me with a slow mode message on every single message. Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting. Anyway, yeah. People were saying that was other people were having problems like that today. So seems like a YouTube glitch. Also, shout out to Jack Ray for gifting 10 Apologetics Roadshow memberships. Wes is surgical in his speaking. That is a good description. That is surgical. That gets applied to athletes. If a quarterback takes the ball 95 yards down the field in 6 perfect plays and so on, they say it's surgical. Wes.
They were talking about weird sports again that nobody cares about.
This actually makes sense. Why Wes so Canadian? He's very Canadian. The only thing he's missing is just some A in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so this is P66, eh? You familiar with P66, eh? As a black man, I want to say the Codex Sinaiticus was not, in fact, produced by Galileans. Just when you thought Mike Winger was the dorkiest YouTuber, Wes Huff enters the chat. I don't know. Wes Huff looks like he'd pick up Mike Winger and slam him.
Yeah.
You guys will die laughing when you see Billy and his wife's excuses. His true colors come out and his whole fan base turned on him. Ooh, is that what happened afterwards?
People say that he went on a 3-hour rant or something. I have to check that
out. Started reading Sword and Scimitar by Raymond Ibrahim. As Habermas would say, it is totally based.
Yeah.
It is totally based. D-Wood and AP, you should coordinate with Ahmed Ex-Muslim. He's got a few images for the video. It's X-rays of virgins in heaven, transparent in high heels. That is a pretty good description of the Hordes. Billy Carson claimed he was ambushed. He was too sick during the debate. He was not given time to speak. I don't know. Wes was pretty darn polite in letting him speak. And that Wes Huff's Wi-Fi problems were intentional to mess with him. Yeah. Wes Huff's little glitches while he's speaking. Yeah, he planned that. He planned that to mess with Billy Carson.
Where's the episode of? Where's him talking about this and ranting about this? I really want to see that.
Probably on his stuff. Thank you for getting me through this 600 kilometer drive. Loving watching this pompous person getting schooled.
I was talking about you,
David. Why does Sneeko want to nuke Gaza? No, he said he would in exchange for what's that girl's name?
Brett Cooper.
Brett Cooper doing a splits on him. He said he would nuke Gaza. The Proof and explanation is in the name. Barnabas, Jesus went to Sinai instantly and sailed to Nazareth with ancient alien Uber called Al-Barak. You'd have to have something like Barak to be getting around the way the apostles were in the Gospel of Barnabas. You should see the clip where Billy claims to be the foremost expert on ancient documents in the world. Is that in this debate or is that in one of his other videos? Because that would be funny if he claims to be the foremost expert on ancient documents in the world. He's talking to a scholar of ancient documents. Billy Carson doesn't want you to watch this. Billy's best friend exposes the scumbag that he is. Anton is who set up the West debate. Okay, so I'm going to screenshot that name. You catch this, AP? You wanted to find out stuff afterwards. It's Billy's best friend exposed him for this, and he's the one who set him up with this debate. The Brandalorian says, just proves people need to inform themselves, not just blindly trust people. Yeah, again, guys, this is, I mean, you always had like weird cult leaders, and it was always, people were always able to deceive other people and so on. It's just way easier for a deceiver to get a big audience right now because of the internet age, which means people need to dial up their ability to spot nonsense. My guess is that Billy went home to find out what to do with his wife. His reaction in this discussion is far different from what came after. So, okay, because, yeah, I was actually confused. I was watching it. I was like, well, he looks pretty respectful. He's listening and so on. He's not interrupting. He's accepting correction. Everyone's like, he had a total meltdown. So he had a meltdown afterwards. Watching a white man destroy a black man and his credibility. What a sick world. This is very racist. And matter of fact, if I were Billy Carson, I would have pulled the race card. I've been like, look, white man. You see the white man talking to me like he owns me? I would have done something like that. Would have been smart. A Muslim told me that I, as an Ashkenazi Jew, am cursed because my ancestors worshiping the golden calf, and also that I'm a fake Khazari Jew. Do you believe what that Muslim tells you? Is that Muslim a reliable source of information on what you are? What is his field of expertise? Mateo, fun fact, Billy made a 3-hour rant vid on how he was sick and set up into a trap, then took it down. Did Wes nuke Billy?
Wow. I'm looking
Wes
into this.
Use a tactical nuke?
I'm looking into this history now. It's so bad. Wow, man.
Isn't it
He
crazy?
angrily went on a rant, but wow.
We weren't even interested. We weren't even interested in all this until like 1,000 years later when someone says something and I have to look it up. And it's like, oh, this is actually really interesting stuff.
We should have been following this from the beginning, man.
Where can I get ancient manuscript mug merch? You could check around, but I've seen that multiple times, especially like P52 and so on. People have the little manuscript on a mug. Billy went on a 3-hour live stream rant after his debate, calling it fake. People in his comments were calling him unhinged. He lost a lot of followers, and that's got to suck. Yeah, so guys, if you're a professional deceiver who misleads people, and that's how you make your living, don't step on stage with Wes Huff. Don't do it. The Gospel of Barney is a metaphysical matter. That's what he should have said. Should have had Fareed help you out. The Bible is a lie. We all just came from aliens. That's good. That's true. Oh, we came from aliens. There are people who love lies. Let them be given over to deception. Others are genuinely seeking the truth, but for whatever reason are easily manipulated. That's why this expose is so important. It is indeed important. It's now the Billy Carson effect, formerly known. And by the way, guys, when I was talking earlier about, hey, wait a minute, it's not just the problem that you got this completely wrong. It's that your entire methodology for researching and then sharing information is flawed. So at this point, we can't know what to trust. But there's even something broader beyond that, which talks about the world we live in now, where a guy can be spouting complete insane nonsense for years and doesn't get called on it. And yet he goes up against one expert who just completely humiliates him and shows what a sloppy method he has. There's lots of these people, guys. There's lots of these people in every area. They're online. They have huge followings, and they're saying the most insane things imaginable, and they keep getting away with it. So we have a global problem with humanity and society right now that we need to do something about. because this is bad. As a new Christian struggling to stay inspired, Wes has renewed my desire to keep learning. Super exciting. That's cool. That's good. And if you haven't told Wes that, you should probably tell him that, because that would be encouraging for him. I just saw that Billy Carson did an interview on Valuetainment's YouTube channel talking about how God is a mistranslation. His claims were sus. I bet they were. AP, God Logic did a live reacting to Billy's rant. You might have to watch it there because Billy deleted it from his channel.
Man.
Oh, so we can't watch the rant on Billy's channel anymore because Billy took it down, but God Logic reacted to it, so we would have to watch God Logic's reaction to see what Billy said. Okay, that's good to know. He deleted the rant. You can watch reaction vids. Ow, so the reaction didn't... So his rant didn't go the way he thought. People, it just made him look worse, and people exposed him for it, and then he changed it. Good to know. I haven't even read the Gospel of Barnabas, and it already sounds like it was written by a Muslim attempting to discredit the Gospel's message. That was there's no agreed upon theory because they don't know who wrote it. They don't know. It just claims to be written by Barnabas. So it's either like written by a troll or written by someone from some weird hybrid sect that we don't know about, or the hypothesis, the theory that I remember from like 20 some years ago was that it was written by an apostate Christian who had converted to Islam, but still didn't know enough about Islam to even get the Islamic claims right. Like still didn't know that that Jesus is the Messiah according to Islam, but didn't understand basic things. And so we may actually never know because there's not enough to go on. When I click on AP's channel, it says channel not available. Guess Malaysia is blocking AP.
Yeah, Malaysia has blocked my channel, has made an application to YouTube to block my channel, and YouTube accepted it. So in Malaysia, you cannot access my channel page. You can still watch my videos because that's the only thing they can do. They can block the channel page from popping up, but they cannot block videos unless they are individually blocked. So Malaysia is blocked, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. At the end of the debate, Wes actually does grill Billy on his flawed methodology. That's also good to know. Again, I'll be watching the rest of this, and other people have reacted to it. I mainly wanted to discuss this section because there are still Muslims who believe in the Gospel of Barnabas because they got it from, stuff in the 80s and 90s and so on, and they still don't know that it's silly. So, but yeah, if there's other interesting stuff, I wouldn't mind covering that. Especially again, so he's about to be on Joe Rogan. This is a good time for a very well-rounded, balanced scholar with a good personality who's nice and respectful while he's demolishing his opponents. Good opportunity for this guy to blow up. So we are happy to do our little part in, and everyone should be doing that right now, sharing stuff, sharing clips, and so on. This would be cool.
Look at this. Billy, according to his own company, Billy Carson, celebrated founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, award-winning author and visionary entrepreneur, brought his hallmark blend of scientific rigor and metaphysical inquiry to the conversation. It's a
metaphysical matter. We told you.
His podcast has become a beacon for seekers of truth. Carson's expertise in ancient civilizations, consciousness studies, and innovative technologies provides a solid foundation for a discussion that was nothing short of groundbreaking. This is his own company. It's probably him writing this stuff.
Huh. Interesting.
Wow.
Wow. Jason Thornton, a financial advisor online as pocket watching with JT, had a client that paid about $8,000 to Billy. Gosh, you could have just paid that to us. We'd have told you about the Gospel of Barnabas, but we'd have given you accurate information. Noel says, God Logic asked Wes his favorite argument against Islam. He described the Islamic dilemma. You should get him on, but I hear he's super busy. Yeah, I wouldn't even ask him right now. I know he's popular and it'd be good, and a show would blow up if you have him on right now because he's popular. But I'm guessing he's extremely busy right now. So we will just let him.
He immediately joined. He immediately joined all the others live. when they asked.
Well, they
him.
jumped
So-
on they jumped on it while it was snowballing. So it is snowballed. I mean, you could still ask him. You could message him, say, "Hey, want to jump on a show with us?"
You should ask him. You should invite him. You should have him on your channel.
I'm quite if someone posts videos, I'm quite happy just pulling up the person's videos and going through them and discussing them.
Invite the guy and talk to him about this kind of stuff.
I don't have to invite anybody.
Just don't eat a Quran page when he's here.
What if I can't control myself? What if there's someone in the chat mouthing off? Yeah, so I will invite him on. I'll probably wait until well after the Joe Rogan thing and so on, and then JT then got the money back. So this guy gave me $8,000 and did research exposing Billy Camrick Carson was originally William Tyrone Carlson. Changed his name. Always got to watch out for people who change their names. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and watch this other point.
You know what this makes me think, considering that somebody like this who just sells fraud to people and becomes so popular, he has 1 million subscribers, is making tons of money, as it seems. I mean, this is just what is kind of weird and messed up about the world, where people who instead spend years and years and years into proper research and proper expertise and put things out there don't remotely get the same recognition. I mean, maybe people should just go into all-out fraud stuff.
Yeah. That's what we should do. We should have our real channels where we seriously discuss stuff, and then our fraud channels where we just lie to people and make them send us money. With our secret, we've been talking to aliens. We've been talking to aliens, and they've given us this secret information. If you pay us the sum of $2,500, we'll tell you what the aliens said. And then
we can also do this thing. We can go back and forth where we pretend that it is us debunking those channels, but it's actually us debunking ourselves, so that we can cross promote our fake accounts and our real accounts. You know, our fraud and our truth, and push both of them. Perfect businessman. Wow. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that. Hey, this would be funny. We'll say, we've been in contact with aliens. They have a secret message for humanity. Send us $5,000 and we will tell you the secret message of these aliens. And then when people send us the $5,000, we send them a message back and we say, what the aliens said was, a fool and his money are soon parted. And that's it.
No, the aliens said something very important, but they said you need to send a little bit more money first.
Billy Carson's wife went live the same night saying he gets paid $50,000 for speaking and almost used the race card. She was wacko. Vocab has tons of this stuff. So you can't correct Billy Carson. He gets paid $50,000 to speak.
See, that's what I mean. His wife is apparently modeling, offering life advice, and
Smart.
Also selling things like healing things.
You should. Oh yeah. Like you buy these crystals for $10,000, it will give you power to be as awesome as Billy Carson. You should send Wes a Billy Carson tears mug. See, that's the thing. He seems too nice to use something like that. And it's good. Let us be mean. We'll be mean. It's good to have different approaches. Wes's site has an article, if the Quran is true, it's false. That sounds like
that's
some Islamic dilemma type stuff.
Yeah.
You might check that out. Sinai Bible is older than the KJV, then proceeds to quote the KJV, ye are gods, like how Mormon reads ye are gods and get your own planet.
It's fun.
And you can pull up his mugshot from a fraud charge. Oh, so this guy's been involved in fraud before. Good signs all around. Hats off to Westhoff for exposing a false teacher.
Trust somebody who has fraud charges.
All right, let's see this next point, and then we'll wrap
Testament
it up.
a little bit and leading up into the new.
Well, hold on, because do you mind if I address the gospel of Jesus' wife?
Sure, go ahead.
What was her name?
Yeah,
I'm like trying to write notes like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, what's her
I'm
name?
just
What's
curious.
Jesus?
So the gospel of Jesus' wife doesn't actually
name?
mention. So oftentimes what happens is that the text of the gospel of Jesus' wife is kind of paralleled with the gospel of Philip, which mentions that that Jesus would kiss Mary Magdalene on the mouth. And so those are kind of used in parallel to kind of for this argument that Jesus was married. So the gospel of Jesus' wife is in the Harvard Library. However, the reason we know it's also not legitimate is because even though the manuscript, the papyrus that it's on, was carbon dated to the 4th century, the text was actually copied from a PDF version of the Gospel of Thomas known as Grandin's Interlinear, and there was a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the Gospel of Jesus' wife. So we know that this is not a legitimate document, even though the papyrus is ancient, and this happens a lot with forgeries. I have a couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries within Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts and within other ancient Christian papyri. But the reason why we know the Gospel of Jesus' wife, and that Karen King, who kind of vouched for it and she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for her, and she's admitted that it's a fake as well, was because we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form, and the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text that was borrowed in the phraseology of Jesus' wife. So
guys, so if you want to, there's a parallel with like the Gospel of Barnabas. So someone comes up to you and says, I've got this Gospel of Barnabas. And then you see year of Jubilee is every 100 years or something like that. That tells you, okay, this obviously isn't from the ancient world. This happened after other things happened. If someone makes a forgery and you're trying to, but keep in mind, you have people who make good forgeries. If you're looking at a forgery,
I know,
especially if it's done by someone who knows what they're doing, how do you know it's a forgery if it's really well done? Well, imagine there's a mistake in there, and it's the same mistake that's in an online PDF file of something else where they
not to be confused with pedophile.
Yeah, not to be confused with the Dawa guys. Then you can actually, it's like, wait a minute, there's a mistake right here in this supposed manuscript. Oh, wait a minute, it's the exact same mistake that's in this PDF file. Oh, wait a minute, this is an obvious forgery. So he's exposing this document, but let's let Wes continue cooking.
Just point that out is, once again, with our sourcing, I think we need to make sure that we're going towards not just early sources, but actually credible sources. And unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actually, and agreed upon by not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know anybody in the field of papyrology, paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that. So let's go into the Old Testament.
So
fair enough. I can respect that.
So there goes your other evidence. Wow, man.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, he's making 2 points. One's about Jesus' wife and one's about Jesus not being crucified. He's apparently been using these things for years. He finally talks to someone who knows what he's talking about, completely demolishes everything this guy's been claiming, and then, oh, okay, cool. Thank you for that. Let's move on. And keep in mind why, because I was thinking, oh, okay, he's open to correction. People are saying, no, he's not open to correction. He just wanted to continue, which also makes sense. It's, I have no clue what I'm talking about. This guy does. If I challenge him on this, it's just going to look worse. It's going to look way worse if I know you're wrong. The Gospel of Barnabas is reliable. This guy's obviously going to destroy me, so let's move on. Wow.
Man.
Wild stuff.
Oh, baby, it's a wild world.
All right. Anyway, that's all I wanted to cover from today. They go on there and then they start talking about some. And here, to be fair, they start talking about some ancient sources and so on. And Billy does show that he is familiar with the stories here. So his main problem is finding things that are, he can't distinguish. He's like Muhammad in that he couldn't distinguish between a later fabrication and an early reliable source. He couldn't tell the difference. So Muhammad just relied on any story that came his way, and what fit his message best, he would stick with that. That sounds like Billy Carson. There's tons of sources out there. Whichever ones are confirming something he wants to believe, he goes with those, and has apparently no ability whatsoever to check the reliability of these sources. So what you don't want to do, and this is Kim Iverson, this is Candace Owens, this is Billy Carson, this is a lot of the Dawa guys. You have a lot of people saying things that would be very easy to refute if you just look them up, and none of their fans will ever look them up. So you have to do it for them. You have to do it for them and then show them. And you're looking for some threshold number or percentage of people who are ready to correct you when you say something that's false. You're looking for some threshold. There's got to be some threshold where you're getting called on it too much, so you stop and you decide to be more careful. People need to be more careful. The speakers, the educators, the influencers need to be more careful. That won't happen as long as they can just get away with it, because no one ever looks up anything they say. So you need an informed population, or at least a population that knows to look up claims when they sound weird. And that will help keep the influencers in check, that they have to be a little more careful and not embarrass themselves like this.
So would you say that Billy Carson is an ear?
We could call him an ear. He believes whatever he hears, as long as it's from a completely unreliable, nonsensical source.
Good.
All right. So let's go through these last couple of super chats and then we'll be out. IRC Billy Carson did pull the race card in his rant video. Oh, he did. Okay, that's smart. I would have totally done that. Guys, if I were black, I would be using the race card all day, every day. But I'd be funny with it. Anytime any white guy tried to go, oh, you see the white man? You see the white man here trying to correct me? I'd have to use that.
Just use it as a white person, man.
That would be funny. Oh, I guess it's just really cool to talk to white people like this now. Stream idea: David E. Taylor scam cult in Florida. No, we're not terribly interested in the cults and so on. Just because we talked about this before, that if you try to do too many different topics, you're not going to be very good at addressing them all. Some people can, I can't. I got to kind of stick with a couple topics, or I'm terrible. Fair enough. Fair enough, I'm retarded. Billy's full response video is on a YouTube channel called The Free Thinkers, the whole 3+ hours. 3 hours response to that little debate? That's wild. Godub says, fair enough, I'm stupid. Fair enough, I'm stupid. Come on, Ayatollah. This is D-Wood Stream NAPs. Yeah. No need to be using the R word. GoTub, as a black man, I'm going to need you to step back and take a knee. Now they're arguing. The Ayatollah and GoTub are going back and forth. It's getting real here. It's getting real. And we have here, fight the power. Nice. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And I'm going to watch the rest of that. People have pointed out that at the end, Billy does call out his methodology and stuff. So, Wes does call out Billy's methodology. So I'm going to watch the rest of that and see if there's other stuff that's relevant to what we're talking about. We'll definitely check it out. And we will also be looking up some of Wes's responses to Islam to kind of go through those and see what he's got. That'll fit in well with our viewers here. In the meantime, Wes has got a wave of popularity right now, so be sure to check out his stuff, help him out. Check out his interview with Joe Rogan as soon as that comes out, and I don't know, it'd be pretty cool. Hope that does well. You want it to do well because you want all the other podcasters to also have him on to discuss things. And it's good to have an expert who, studies ancient manuscripts and stuff like that, being able to break down things for people and correct some very common mistakes and blunders.
I would love to have a discussion with him sometime about. I'm not sure if he has ever gotten into that, but about early. I'm pretty sure he must have. Right, about early heretical sources about Jesus and the crucifixion from the Docetic and Gnostic perspectives and things like that. Because it's a thing that I've been very interested in and that I made videos about. And when I talked about Jesus and Islam and how Islam got Jesus wrong, that would be an interesting thing to talk about.
Would be very, very interesting. Very interesting stuff. All right, everyone. We'll be back. You know what we're talking about tomorrow on your channel?
I have an idea, possibly about the recent terrorist attack, something connecting to that, and the Quran.
Oh, hang on. Look what I went and found. Look what I went and found. I'm going to hang it up behind me. I went and found
Oh, nice.
Actual Bourbon Street sign. I don't know if it's actually legal to have that. That I mentioned it the other day, ladies and gentlemen, but my dad was drunk in New Orleans, and he noticed that the signs were made to not be taken down by people like him, and he took that as a challenge, and he had his tools in his truck, and so he said it took him forever to get that down, but he got a Bourbon Street sign. And then he died, and I'm not sentimental, I'm not interested in keeping stuff, but I liked that sign, so I grabbed that sign and kept it. But I'm going to have that up. I might just stick it like right up. Hang it. I could have that hanging right there, man. Hanging right there. Bourbon Street, so that everyone always remembers the Bourbon Street Massacre.
I really want to talk to this guy now about Islam and Jesus and that kind of stuff.
We should. Matter of fact, we should. We should watch a couple of his videos. Go through anything that's relevant left in the debate, and then we'll try to contact him and get a discussion because he knows what he's talking about.
He's probably very busy right now, but once that is, subsided a little bit, I would love to talk to him.
Yep, we shall. And then AP can be humiliated again.
Alhamdulillah.
All right, everyone. We will catch you tomorrow on AP's channel, unless you're in Malaysia, in which case you
just move somewhere else
tomorrow. Yeah, move somewhere that doesn't suck. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Catch you next time.
Stay away from Muslim.
Yep, do that.